Hello, my friends. Here we are for day 4 of our Learning a Doodle drawing series, and I have good news for you. I'm going to show you a couple more doodles today, so we'll add a little bit more to what we've been building, but I still have so much more to tell you, and these short videos aren't enough time, so there's going to be a bonus video 5 tomorrow. Okay, so for today, we're going to add a few more doodles to this, and I hope at this point, I hope that you're really enjoying the growth of your drawing, and you see how you went from that scribble that really kind of looked like nothing to something that's really starting to have some personality and pizzazz. And even more than that, I hope that you are finding the process both fun and relaxing, because that's the point of this type of drawing to me. I do a lot of this when I just need to calm my brain down, because you can go into this without any kind of preconceived notion and create something fantastic and calm your mind and your body at the same time. So I mentioned before that I'm kind of doing two side by side, one that's more flowy and what my style usually is, and one that's more angular, to show you that both can work. So if you tend to be more angular, that's perfectly fine. I'm really kind of liking how both of them are turning out. This angular one is so far off from what my style really is. It's really been kind of fun to branch out into that for me. So certainly let your imagination run wild with these. There's no right way to do any of this. There's just your creative way. So for today, I'm going to show you 2 more doodle things and a fun embellishment tip, I guess. I am going to leave some white spaces in mine as I'm doing them. You don't have to. You can fill every single little space if you want to. I like to leave some blank spaces just because it makes my eye happy, but there's really no rule about that. So the first one I want to show you today is kind of a combination. It's kind of a combination of this and peas in a pod with a little bit of a twist to it. So it's going to be lines and circles, and I think I'm going to do that in this space on mine. So let me get zoomed in here. So you can pick whatever space looks good to you on yours after you see what this is. So the way I'm going to do this one is start with 2 lines. And it doesn't matter where they are, can be anywhere. And you can make them as far apart as you want. I like to keep them a little bit closer together, but that's just my preference. And there's no real measurement here. Again, I could put another line down the middle like I mentioned when we were doing one of these others the other day. I could put a line down the middle of that comfortably. So that's kind of my weird way to measure things. And I'm going to draw circles filling all that space, like we did with the peas in the pod one the other day. The only difference is there are straight lines bordering it instead of curved lines when we were putting them in shapes the other day. And sometimes when I'm doing this one, I get a little overzealous and my circles pop out over the top of the line. There's a couple spots, I don't know if you can see them on the camera, but there's a couple spots where my circle is actually above the line, or on this side of the line or that side of the line. It's perfectly okay. I'll show you how to come back and take care of that when we're done. So once you've got your circles drawn, you're going to fill in around them. Again, just like we did with peas in a pod. Fill all those little tiny spaces. If it feels more comfortable for you to switch to a pen that has a smaller tip, go ahead and do that. I do want to mention real quick these pens again, because I've had a couple people ask me, and I will put them in the description of the video as well. The one I'm using right now, which is the fatter tip of the 2 that I like to use, is a Uniball I Fine. And the tip on this one is probably the equivalent of a 0.7, somewhere between a 0.7 and a 0.5 ballpoint pen. The other one that I use is a Uniball Deluxe Micro, and it's probably the equivalent of a 0.3, so it's a much smaller tip. And I like the both of them just because I get the size variety. The reason I love these two the most is because they are also waterproof. So I can do a drawing like this. And once it's good and dry, then I can come back and watercolor over the top of it, and this black ink is not going to bleed. So that's the main reason I love these two. They're ballpoint pens, which I prefer to felt tip pens, and they don't bleed with water. Okay, so I've got all my circles done. Now, if you have spots where your circle came across the line, like right here, just come back on the outside of that line and draw another line. You're just making that darker area whiter. And it will cover up all those spots where your circles went across the line if you've got a lot of that, and if it bothers you. It doesn't bother you, leave it alone. It's okay. So you can always come back and add a little more thickness to either side by just adding another line and kind of coloring that in. And just extending the width of that black area. So once I've got that done, then I'm going to add some lines on either side of it to give it a little more character. And how you do these is completely up to you. And by how you do them, I mean what order. I like to do them a mixture of straight lines and curvy lines. So maybe something like this. And again, what order you do them in is completely up to you. You don't have to do, straight line, then curvy line. You could do a curvy line and a straight line and another curvy line. Completely up to you how you do that. Now, if I'm doing it in a smaller area, I might just do the one. Trying to find one where I have that. And I can't find it. Anyway, if you're doing it in a smaller area, you might just do one sequence of this. This area I have is quite big, so I'm going to do it a couple of times. I'm going to come over here right at the side and do my circles for my peas in a pod and color that in. And I'll come back in and finish coloring that in better later, and then do a couple of lines. Again, the configuration of your lines is completely up to you. So that helps fill in that bigger space. I'm going to do the same thing over here a little bit more. Only I've got this guy in the middle, so I'm just going to pretend my line goes all the way through, pick up my pen, follow it across, and end it over here. But I will put my circles in. Color that in, and then again do my lines on either side. I'm just picking up my pen where this round part interrupts it in the middle. So it's a little bit of an intermittent pattern, but it can help fill really big areas really nicely. So there we go. You can see that a little zoomed out there. And you could do the exact same thing on something that's a little more angular. There is no right or wrong as far as you can only do this on this type of drawing. You can do them anywhere. And you can do as many of them in a space as you want to. Okay? The next thing I want to show you as far as a doodle is doing some things around the outside edge, but I do want to talk about filling in and dividing other spots. And I also want to answer, whoops, wrong way. I also want to answer a question that I got in one of the comments the other day about rounding corners. You'll notice that mine keeps getting a little bit more black added to it every time I come back to it. And that's just the process of, as I'm adding doodles, when I'm looking at it, my eye will just say it needs to be a little darker here, or it needs to be a little darker here. So I'm just adding little bits of black here and there. This one in particular is just like this one here. You know, we did the little outline contour and then did the lines in, so we've got a white border. I just colored in that white border so that I could bring a little bit more black down into there, just because that seemed like it made sense to me. So as you're doing these, absolutely, you know, you don't have to do the same kind of doodle and then stop and do another kind of doodle. You can work all around this, just kind of listening to what your eye says. Oh, I think this needs to go here, and I think that needs to be darker, and I think there needs to be circles here. Follow those little gut instincts that come up, okay? Also, your base scribble does not have to stay unchanged while you're doing this. For instance, on this one, this whole area, there was a line, this came across, and the line down to this little guy. So this whole big area was open, and it was feeling way too big for everything else that was going on around it. So in between videos, I came in and added a line here, and I added a line here, and I added a line here. So that broke up that bigger space into smaller spaces that I could then do something with that just felt better to me. Wasn't right, wasn't wrong, either way, it just felt better to me to break that up into pieces. So you can absolutely put lines through the middle, or, you know, break them up into smaller spaces if it's feeling big and awkward to you. So I came back in here and put the little arrows. I did them a little differently though. You'll notice I didn't put a line down the middle. I did that specifically because I wanted to show you, again, there is no right or wrong. Take these ideas that I'm showing you and play with them. How can you use them in different ways? You still get kind of that contoured look to this. It just doesn't have a line down the middle, and that's perfectly okay. This one I blacked in completely. This one, I'm going to do that doodle I just showed you, but I'm going to do it crosswise. You don't even have to do it vertically. You could do something like this, where you come in with your circles, and I'll finish that out off camera, and put your lines in. If your drawing is more angular, maybe you don't want to use swoopy wavy lines. Maybe you want to do something more like a zigzag so that it fits in with the more angular theme of your drawing. That's perfectly okay. What if we mix curvy and zigzag? Well, there's nothing wrong with that either. So let your imagination run with these. Take the ideas that I'm showing you and listen to what your little creative voice is telling you, and just play with it and have fun. Like I said, there is no right or wrong to this. Okay? So the next thing I want to show you is doodling around the outside, because this is all fun in here, but I am a big fan of taking that structure we started with and kind of disguising it a little bit. So I like to do things around the outsides. Like on this one, you can see all these little guys out here and out here. This one is a little bit different kind of thing, but you get the idea. It just adds a little bit more fun to it, and it extends the drawing time, which I always love. So where do you put them? Along with our no right, no wrong answer, anywhere you want to. I often like to have them coming out of kind of these deep V's, but they can come out of anywhere you want them to come out of. So you could do something as simple as, maybe right here, I'm just going to do some curvy lines. I think my pen's running out of ink. There's really no rhyme or reason to them. They're crossing each other. So maybe they kind of look like little weeds or something like that, little plants growing up. Make them different heights. And then if you want to put something on the end, maybe just put a little quick dot on the end. It doesn't even have to be all the way colored in. It can look kind of like a little messy dot. So you could do something like that. I really love these little ones that make me think of sea anemones. So I'm going to do that one out of this little V right here and show you that. And it's, I'll flip this over and show you real quick. It's just kind of a zigzag line, only we're going to keep them really flowy. And we're going to do them different heights. So you can just let your pen wander back and forth, varying the height of that stroke. Okay? So that's what I'm going to do coming right out of here. And whether you start it up here and have it come all the way across or have it start and end in the V and kind of fan out is completely up to you. And I think that's the way I'm going to do this one, is have it be more of a V. So I'm just going to do like this. You can kind of change the direction of them a little bit. And vary the height up and down. And come right back in. So that just gives you a little character coming out of there. You could color that all in black. You can leave it white. Or you could come back and do it again. And have multiple layers. I think on... Where did that one go? On this one, where I did it here, I did the top layer, and then I came back and did a little tiny short layer and colored that little tiny short layer in black. All those options work. So by doing this, we're taking that initial shape that we started with and kind of softening it a little bit by adding things around it and disguising that outline a little bit. And you can do as few or as many of those as you want to. Another one I like, kind of makes me think of seaweed. Sorry, my camera skills today are kind of stinky, aren't they? Another one I like to do makes me kind of think of seaweed, and it's similar to this in that you're going to create rounded shapes, but you're going to do them one by one. So I might do something like that. And then I'm going to make another one coming this direction. But I'm going to put it behind the first one. So I'm going to skip where that first one is. It makes it look like there's depth there. And then I might put another one right there. And you just keep adding these until you think you've got enough. And I'm just rounding off the ends of them, but you can see there's nothing perfect about those. But that's what gives them character. So you can just keep adding these until you think you've got enough of them. And then again, you could color those in, or you can just leave them like they are. So lots of ways to add character around the outside of this. So your homework between now and tomorrow's bonus video, in the bonus video we're going to talk about color, and we're also going to talk about some additional embellishments in these black spaces, because you don't just have to leave those alone. I am always a fan of more is more in doodle drawing, so we're just going to go all out with these. So your homework between now and the next video is to do some of this one, the peas in the pod combined with the lines in some of your spaces, and to play around with doing some of these shapes on the outside. And while you're certainly welcome to copy these exactly as I've done them, absolutely let your creativity enter in. If you start doing this and you have an idea for a different way to do it. Try it and see what happens. I was talking to one person the other day who was asking me about rounding corners on the outside of your drawing. And I don't know if I understood the question correctly, but I'm thinking maybe something like this, where that corner is at the outside of my drawing. Would you round that corner when you first start? And I told her the answer was, it's completely up to you. You get to decide if you want to or not. But the suggestion that I made that also holds true to something like this, if you're not sure where you want to do something or what it's going to look like, do it in pencil first on here. And then if you like it, you can go back over it with the pen and make it permanent. If you don't like it, you can erase it. And no harm, no foul. It just goes away. So if you're ever doing these and you're not sure where you want to put something, try it in pencil first. And then that way, if you don't like it, you can just erase it and get rid of it. Okay? So do some more on there with those two that we did today. As you're doing it, if there are other spaces that are calling to you to have something done or to be, you know, completely colored in, go ahead and do that. Like I said, you can leave some white spaces or you can color everything in black and white, completely up to you. Tomorrow we are going to talk about putting some color on here if you choose to color. So you would have something more like that. So we'll do that tomorrow. And then I'm going to talk about embellishing some of these darker spaces as well. So bonus video tomorrow. In the meantime, have fun with these. I hope you're liking what you're seeing. I hope you're starting to get creative ideas of your own. I hope that you're finding it relaxing. And I so appreciate hearing from all of you. I've gotten lots of comments, lots of questions. And I'm just thrilled that so many of you are doing this and enjoying it. So have some more fun with that between now and tomorrow, and we'll have bonus video number 5 tomorrow, okay? Have a good day, everybody.